Hello everyone, it's James from Keeping It Anime, and today we're talking episode 32 of Bungo Stray Dogs. Now, apologies for the fact that I'm a day late on this review, but there is a reason. And the reason being is I was in London Comic Con, where I managed to pick up some good light novels. Mostly that time I got Reincarnated as a Slime. Been enjoying that light novel series recently. Quite a lot of DVDs. There's Macquarie, in case you're wondering. Dragon Ball Super Broly. Some certain scientific railgun. Quite a lot. And I managed to find this little gem as well. It's a Spirited Away sort of art book. I love that film. It's brilliant. And as you can see, I got some cool posters in the background. Why am I telling you all this? Well, it kind of does tie into the episode. The episode is all about Fancis. Now, if you've forgotten who Fancis is, well, he's the main antagonist of Season 2. The owner of the guild. His ability, if you remember, can basically enhance his body by however much he spends. And it turns out he did survive the battle of the Moby Dick. So anime logic kicks in, and basically he spent all of his money, and his wife's wedding ring was able to be spent in order for him to have the power to survive. It was a little bit weird, a little bit kind of convenient, I suppose, but yes, he's alive. After all, we start this episode off with Louisa, one of the strategists of the guild, the main strategist, basically going to the slums to find him. And at first he wants nothing to do with her. She's one of these kind of shy characters that don't really open up a lot to any of the other guild members, and she only really wants to take orders from Fancis himself, and she's quite needy in that regard. So right off the bat, that's how we're introduced to this character for this season. Now, after basically being off screen for like a minute, Fancis arrives back and basically destroys some low-life scums, and we see this scumbag return. Basically, if I remember correctly, he was from episode 1 of this new season. Well, no, he wasn't episode 1, because episode 1 was about Dazai and Chuya. Basically, he was in one of the episodes that we basically came back with the main cast. I actually think it might have been the episode where we found out that Jin was like a nice looking attractive woman or something. I think it was that episode. I can't remember. It'll be up on screen. And basically he's trying to rip off the fingernails or torture Louisa to find out where the guild master is, because he knows that they've got a lot of money, and that's what he's aware of. Okay, so a little bit more information about Louisa. So Louisa has the ability to not predict the future, but she has the ability to slow the flow of time to 1/8,000th. However, she has to be in an isolated room on her own, thinking about a strategy. So it's quite a unique and can be quite a powerful strategy. But it has a few conditions that might make it a little bit weak, because if she's trying to think of the strategy but then the enemy kind of sticks with her, like, let's put it into a different scenario. If it was an ability based on Nen, for example, like if she was in Hunter x Hunter and had that same ability, if she was hit with bankruptcy from Knuckle, if you remember who Knuckle is, if you don't know who Knuckle is, then this is going to be completely lost on you. But basically, she would never be alone as long as bankruptcy is attached to her. And that's quite actually a fitting example, considering Francis' character and the guild are all based around money. But hey, and yeah, so that kind of drawback, or if the presence of someone watching her, like that might indicate it, so she might not be able to go around any technology. Because if that's the case, then I've forgotten his name again. Nope, the guy that we saw in that episode where Jin was a female, the kind of technological guy, the guy who had the ability futon. He's up on screen so you guys know, but I just can't remember. And basically, he could be watching her on technology. So does that mean her ability won't work? I don't know, but anyway, the ability seems quite good, and I'm interested to find out more about it. So basically, Fancis is back in action. He didn't want nothing to do with it at first, but then he had a change of heart. And basically, he starts talking to Louisa and says he's going to try and create another guild. But in order to do so, he's going to need to buy out a special ops agency. And in order to do that, he's going to be needing $50 billion. Well, they put it as dollars because obviously he's from a foreign country, so that's his currency. And okay, fine. And then we go to another weird scene where after we see and learn about Lewis's ability, where Fancis is basically trying to obtain an item called the God's Eye from what seems like a suicidal engineer genius who basically created facial recognition and this brilliant software that can do so. But what also made this very interesting was the software that this guy created. It seems you can actually have a back door to that system where you can kind of swap out different people's facial sort of identities, as we see later on in the program. So Fancis basically tells this guy, look, I'll make it so you're guilty. I'll buy it so you're guilty. And I really did like this part of the episode, because it showed just how much of a good scheming villain Fancis can be. Like, yes, most of the plans and strategies might be Lewis's, but at the same time, Fancis is the one who has to kind of instigate them. And that was quite cool, considering the fact that, yes, they use Rampo's detective skills from the agency. They didn't necessarily go there themselves. They sent one of the former guild members there. And basically, Rampo managed to figure out that the murderer was actually the company owner's boss. And this employee was being framed for the murder. So we then see Fancis basically kind of manipulating and kind of acting like a real good villain. Almost sort of like Death Note. Like Light, kind of, if you've seen Death Note. And basically, he's saying like, look, I know it was you. You know it was you. But pay me 400,000 and I'll forget that you murdered him, and this is how you did it, by switching out your face with that employee's face and framing him. Pay me that money, sign the check, and, you know, I'll do it. So he gets the check, he gets it all signed, and then he turns around and goes into the courtroom and is like, guys, look, he's guilty because I've got a recording that says, you know, the boss talking, saying, you know, you don't talk to anyone about this. And then I've got a signed check to say that it's proof. Although you can't use that in a court. He uses this to manipulate the stock market for this company, which basically sends it paper thin and crashing down. So he can basically buy the company and get all this money and basically have the building. So he's basically already, in one episode, built back what he lost almost, just by being manipulative and having a good strategy. He's also got a new employee, which is the guy that tried to kill himself because he was framed. And basically he's now obtained the God's Eye, and he always kept saying that he's looking for someone. Who that someone is, I don't know, and they keep mentioning the battle for the book. So whether or not Fancis knows about this book, and the book is actually a list of the employees from the Port Mafia. If it's that book and we then have, what's her name, Fuadora, the leader of the, is it the Rats? Yeah. And basically, if it's that book, then obviously he's going to be in the crossfire with the detective agency, with the Port Mafia, all going after one guy. Is there going to be a team up? Probably not, because this guy, although Fancis is a very good villain, he's also a scumbag. But, you know what, overall this episode was pretty good from a story point of view. It brought back a nice character, two nice characters, and it really showed off their abilities and just their skill set. And it reminded us as the viewer just how good these characters are in certain situations. One thing I do like, and like I said at the beginning of this review, buying everything and having value deals. Like for example, the posters you see up on the wall here, the Promised Neverland, Sword Art. I bought those two, and then I only bought those two because it said that if I buy two, I get two free, which meant I got the Seraph one at the top and the Persona 5 in the middle. And basically, throughout this episode, we see Fancis, who has gone from a rich man to a very poor man, buying things rationally because they're at good value. Like, for example, he buys some pots and pans because it says buy one, get one free or something. And he's excited and thrilled by that because he's never had to do it. Because where beforehand he had so much money, you could basically just buy the entire shop. And I don't know, I found that a little bit comedic, and I guess that's why they put it in. But it does add another layer to his character, so that's pretty good. And yet, overall, comedy was a little bit died down. But that's perfectly fine, because this episode didn't need comedy. It just needed someone to help Fancis get back in the game, which it had, and just showcase how much of a threat this guy is, to re-establish that, because we all know that he's powerful in terms of abilities and power standpoint, but now we know that he's got a brilliant mindset that can like almost compare to that of like Dazai and the Port Mafia boss, Chuya. He's kind of showing that he's on that sort of level of mentality, and I like that. That's good. I like it when the show gets a bit more kind of focused on the strategy aspect than the whole power scaling. I find that to be fascinating. So yeah, overall, I perfectly enjoyed this episode. It was really nice to see. Now it's up to you to let me know your thoughts down in the comment section down below. And I do have another weird question. It's got nothing to do with Bungo Stray Dogs. What's your views on Zelda? Because I've got a signed copy from the mangakas that do the Zelda manga, and I personally have never played Zelda. I'm wanting to, and I read the first volume to the Zelda Twilight Princess manga. I quite like it, so I'm gonna get into it a bit more. Let me know your thoughts on the episode mostly, Bungo Stray Dogs, but if you want to let me know your thoughts on Zelda, down in the comment section down below, much would be appreciated. Like, what's your favourite game? Anyway guys, I'm rambling now, so I'm gonna end the review there. That's all I've got to say. Music, pretty good. There was quite a few good sound effects as well. That's it. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have, smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new so you never miss a video from me. And until next time, I hope you'll have an amazing day and keep it anime. Goodbye.